All right, so we went ahead and started the recording. So everybody, welcome so much. I'm just going to introduce myself real quick. My name is Courtney Kirshner, and I'm an enrollment concierge here with LSU Online. I see a lot of familiar faces that have joined us so far today. We're really excited to have you on here. And I'd like to introduce Allison. She is going to be your learner concierge. She's going to be kind of leading us today. And we also have Dr. Reed Bates with us, who is the program director for the Leadership and Human Resource Development. So I'll let you take it away, Allison.
Okay. Hello, and thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. Again, I'm Allison, and I'm one of the learner concierges. Again, my role is to provide you with the direct point of contact on our campus should you have any questions or need any assistance. Let's see. Our goal is to provide you with vital information about our online Master of Science in Leadership and Human Resource Development. Feel free to ask any questions. However, we do ask that you wait until the end of the presentation. Please ask those questions in the question board because they will get lost in the chat.
Okay. All right. So let's look at the next slide. All right, so just talking a little bit about LSU Online. It is very flexible when it comes to the accessibility. The courses themselves are offered through accelerated courses, and they're really available to any student that it has the fast speed internet and all of the requirements that would be needed should you have to go through ProctorU. It gives students a chance to continue with their careers and all of their personal goals by earning any of their degrees that they need to advance their career, to advance their academic wills and wants as they move forward. It also allows students who are maybe working full-time to be able to take the online program and be able to move forward with that. And it also, we're going to talk more about this specifically for the Leadership and Human Resource Development program, but we're going to talk about the leaders and the faculty who are focused on helping our online students and our online learners when it comes to furthering themselves academically and also career-wise.
Okay, we have 3 programs that are offered: Master of Science in Leadership and Human Resource Development, Master of Science in Leadership and Human Resource Development with a concentration in Workforce Development, and then we have the Certificate in Workforce Development.
Oh, all right. So to meet the team, we do have a couple of faces on here that if you go through the Leadership and Human Resource Development team, you'll definitely want to know. We have Melissa Turnage, who's listed on here, and she is the Administrative Coordinator of Academic Services and also the point of contact for admissions and student services. So myself and Allison work with Melissa quite a bit, helping our students as it comes to completing their application, if they're missing a document, if they're missing anything that they might need to complete, we will talk with Melissa, but she'll also be in touch with you guys as well as students. And then we also have Dr. Petra Robinson on here. She is the online Master of Science graduate advisor. So should you get accepted into the program, she is who you would be in communication with about if you, like what are the next step in my classes, or if you have any questions about a class and how that kind of goes through. So she's your advisor when it comes to all of that. And then we also have Dr. Reed Bates listed here. And so I'm going to turn it over to him and he can kind of tell you more about the program and his role within all of this.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm director of the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development. We have an online master's program as well as an on-campus master's program. Both of those programs offer the same courses taught by the same faculty. So our goal with the development of those courses was to make them equivalent, and I believe we've done a good job. Our master's degree in Leadership and Human Resource Development is a program focused on change. We see change as the new normal for organizations. So our program is oriented toward developing skills in our students that will allow them to lead and manage change processes in organizations. And that could be business organizations, community organizations, governmental organizations, really any kind of organization that you might work in. So we have courses that look at how we analyze the need for change and what kinds of changes are needed. We have courses organized around managing the change process, understanding resistance to change. We have courses around using learning as a tool for change. We have leadership courses which help students understand what's required of a leader in managing the change process. We have courses around how we evaluate whether or not our change efforts were successful. I think one of the advantages of our program is we actually get students from a wide range of fields. We get students from education, from health, from manufacturing, from sales, from business and industry, from public sector organizations. And the common theme is that the skills they develop in our program can be used in a lot of different contexts. So we're really excited about that. Our graduates go into some very good high-level jobs, and we're very proud of them.
Very great. So I guess this kind of goes into what you were just talking about as it relates to the program. So then as far as LSU, I kind of talked about this a little bit about why choose LSU, but with LSU, there is, like it says right here, it is in the elite 1% of all research universities as a land, sea, and space grant institution. LSU is the state's flagship university, and because of that, we are able to recruit top-tier faculty, and in a lot of cases, the same faculty that teach our on-campus also teaches our online program, so you're going to be learning from that same top-tier faculty. There is also a lot of people, as an enrollment concierge, I get this question a lot from students who are interested in our program. They ask, well, when I graduate, is it going to say that I graduated from LSU, or will it say LSU Online? And it will absolutely say Louisiana State University, A&M College. It's not going to differentiate. It won't say world. It won't say online. It won't say anything like that. So you are getting the same diploma as the LSU on campus. Also, as far as talking about LSU Online, it is 100% online when it comes to the Leadership and Human Resource Development program, and it is taught asynchronous, meaning that there are guided dates and deadlines, but there's no, on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock, you don't have to log in for a live lecture or anything like that. It's completely done in an asynchronous fashion as well. And I know once we start to get into more of the programs, Dr. Bates is going to touch on that a little bit more too.
Well, I would also add to that LSU is a research-intensive university. There are only 104 research-intensive universities in the United States. So we are one of those elite institutions that offer high-quality online programs.
Very awesome. So in this next slide, we then start to get into the Master of Science in Leadership and Human Resource Development. Dr. Bates, did you want to touch on this a little bit?
Well, this really summarizes what I was trying to say earlier, that, you know, we're preparing our students to be strategic partners in organizations, to help organizations understand how to develop human capital for positive change, and that takes a lot of skills. We have courses that look at leading and managing teams, how we develop effective teams, how we develop human resources. The workforce development certificate, or the concentration we'll talk about in a few minutes, takes a little bit broader perspective on change and development in organizations, and looks specifically at workforce development systems. So as I said earlier, our program really fits people who are in those positions that are challenged to meet the demands of a changing workplace. So we have a lot of people who come to our program who have an HR background, who currently work in HR but want to advance in their field. We get people who are in leadership positions who want to understand the change process and be able to facilitate that change process more effectively. A number of our students go into consulting, and so we get people who are interested in moving out of a 9-to-5 job into more of a consulting career. We have students who have gone into international consulting careers. And I've done some international consulting as well based on my experience as a leadership and human resource development professor. So I guess that's about all I have to say for that.
All right. So this then is just the breakdown of the courses. I think after we kind of talk about this a little bit, Dr. Bates, we'll go back and kind of talk about how that flow of classes works then.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about the workforce development concentration as well as the certificate program. As I said earlier, both students interested in a broader perspective on workforce development would be interested in either the certificate program or the concentration. The difference is the certificate program is a 6-course sequence. At the end of that sequence, students are awarded a certificate in workforce development. The master's in leadership and human resource development with a concentration in workforce development doesn't add any more coursework to the master's degree. It simply substitutes some of the workforce development courses for other courses that you would find in the leadership and human resource development master's program. So the key differences between the two master's programs is really the addition of 3 courses, and you see them there at the bottom of the slide. One is the Principles of Workforce Development, which provides students with an overview of what workforce development systems are, how they function, and how individuals can play a strategic role in workforce planning and developing human capital in ways that helps meet the needs of either a business or a community or a state or a national workforce development system. Then we have a specific course on workforce planning and analysis, which looks at how do you do workforce planning? How do you analyze what needs an organization or a community or a nation needs to meet their economic development and social development goals? The other courses you see down there, the rest of those are the performance analysis course is a course that looks at how we analyze skill needs and determine what priorities exist within those needs. Program evaluation obviously looks at whether or not we have made the changes we want in the workforce development system. And then the last 2 courses are really more specifically oriented around how we develop effective training and development programs.
Okay, I know that a lot of the questions that I get from interested students are, well, if right now I want to take the certificate program and just complete those 6 courses, how does that then play into the master's program if I want to continue into the master's program?
Well, all of those courses would transfer into your master's program, so you would essentially be halfway through your master's program.
Okay, so would they go into the master's without the concentration, or just the master's, or would it be the one?
Well, they'd actually have an option. I think if they decided if they didn't want to do the concentration, there may be a couple of other courses they would have to take to get the leadership and human resource development master's. But if they wanted the concentration in workforce development, then all of these 6 courses would be added to 6 other courses, and they would be awarded the master's degree.
Okay, awesome, very good. So if we go back to this previous slide that we had put in there, can you kind of talk about how the flow of the classes go as far as the course carousel and being able to complete within 12 months or 24 months, depending on a full-time or part-time student?
Sure. We designed the programs to make it possible for students to complete the master's degree in one calendar year. And so we offer, the courses are run in 7-week modules, and we offer 2 modules every semester. So typically a semester at our university is 15 or 16 weeks. So we offer 2 7-week modules every semester with a week in between. And so you can see on this slide when these courses are offered. So we encourage students to take 2 courses every module, which will allow them to graduate in 1 year. Now the challenge is these courses are offered in a pretty hard sequence. So if you drop out of the sequence and miss a course, that course is not going to come up again for another year. So you would have to wait another year to take that course that you might have missed. So if you're interested in finishing in 12 months, it's pretty important that you stick to the schedule.
Yes. And that would be when you would talk to Dr. Petra Robinson.
Right.
Help you with all of that. All right. So then next we have, what are some of our students saying?
Sure. This is from Daycree Overstreet, and she stated that the LSU Online LHRD program provided the opportunity to broaden her horizons. This is preparing her to face challenges and to also look at, she was an online student with LHRD.
And she was just at our graduation in December, so It was really cool to meet her. And we love to meet our students. So as you go through the program upon graduation, we absolutely want you to come to graduation and walk across the stage and get to meet everybody in person, get to meet everybody from the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development, myself, Allison, everybody else who's there along the way with you. So we definitely encourage you to come to graduation.
Yeah, I have a little list here of some of the jobs that our master's students have gone into, and I can just read a few things off here if you are interested in what our graduates do.
Absolutely.
Training coordinator for a major university, human capital director for the federal government, instructional designer, human resource coordinator for an advertising agency, human resource generalist for a consulting company, training analyst for a health systems company, benefits manager for medical services company, human resource process specialist for a tech and IT company, human resource manager for a construction company, an organization development and training coordinator in the aviation industry, learning and development officer for a major university, a program evaluator for a training organization, director of training and recruitment for a heavy equipment company, and human resource analyst for a petrochemical processing company. So those are the kinds of jobs that our master's graduates get into.
That's great. And so then this next slide then is kind of talking about what some of the faculty are saying. And I know that Dr. Bates, if you want to talk a little bit more about Dr. Tracy, and then also you as being a faculty member as well, you want to kind of talk about that?
Well, I can talk about our faculty in general. We have 9 faculty members, and we have quite a mix of people. We have 3 faculty members who are industrial organizational psychologists, including Dr. Rizzuto. The IO Psych people have degrees in industrial organizational psychology. They come to our program because they study the same things that we study. They study the behavior of individuals and groups in organizational settings. We also have a number of faculty who come with backgrounds in human resource development, who understand human resource function, both from an applied perspective and from a scholarly perspective. We have two of our faculty members are leadership experts and have backgrounds in leadership and leadership development. So we have an interesting mix of faculty that bring multiple perspectives to this issue of change and development in organizations.
Very good. All right. So as far as application requirements are concerned, then I will kind of speak to this a little bit. And at any time, if you want to add any other detail, Dr. Bates, feel free to jump in. So what they're looking for is a minimum of a 3.0 GPA. So they will automatically review you for a 3.0 overall. And then if that doesn't match, then they'll look for a 3.0 in your last 60 credit hours of undergraduate coursework. Or they can also look at a 3.0 on all previous graduate level coursework. You will have to, the first step in the application process is you will have to complete a graduate school application, which is available on LSU's graduate school page, and it's done on an online platform. You can complete everything completely right there online. You'll have to submit an updated resume or CV. There's also 3 letters of recommendation that will need to be turned in, and how you complete this is when you turn in the graduate school application, it's going to ask for who you want your recommenders to be. You just put in a name and a good email address, and then our application platform will email your recommenders and say, hey, so-and-so is looking for you to be their recommender. Can you please submit a recommendation letter? And they can just submit it right there through a portal. There are GRE scores that they require, and they're looking, the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development is looking for a 297. However, we do have a GRE waiver, which we're going to talk about here in a second, for qualified individuals. And then
let me jump in there for a minute.
Sure, absolutely.
I actually review all the applications for students entering the master's degree program, and the 3.0 GPA is actually a requirement of the graduate school here at LSU. So it has become one of our graduates, one of our requirements. I do have a little bit of wiggle room in that 3.0 grade point average, and we have admitted students who don't meet that minimum. And typically what happens is those students get admitted on probation, and they have to maintain at least a 3.0, I believe it is, for the first 9 hours. And if they're able to do that, then they get regular admission to the program. So if you don't have a 3.0 in your undergraduate degree, or you don't have a 3.0 in your previous graduate work, I take a close look at the applications, and if I believe that the student has the capability to do the coursework, I typically allow them to enter the program on probation.
Okay, great. And going back to some of the other additional requirements, the graduate school will also need to see all previous transcripts of any coursework. Even if it's not going to count towards anything, I always use I always say, what if you took dual enrollment while you were in high school and those courses never went anywhere, you didn't transfer them into anything? The graduate school still wants to see that. So you'll have to turn in any undergraduate, post-bac transcripts, and then also any graduate transcripts. And then you will also have to do a personal statement. It's just 500 words or less. You're going to introduce yourself to the faculty, and you're going to describe your professional and academic goals. And so that's what Dr. Bates, along with the resume, is, I'm assuming, looking at when it comes to reviewing the application and to see if there's some wiggle room with that GPA.
Yep.
So as far as a GRE waiver, the School of Leadership and Human Resource Development does have a GRE waiver for those who qualify. And so what they're looking for is they want you to have a 3.0 GPA, and then through your resume, they want to see 3 years of full-time professional work experience. And if you match that, then you can submit an essay. And the essay has to be 1,000 words or less, and you're going to use specific examples from your professional work experience to demonstrate your motivation to succeed as a professional, your ability to persevere in the face of demanding professional challenges, and also your intellectual ability to master challenging and difficult subject matter. And when you write that essay, you can just submit it. There's a documents option where you can just submit it with the application when you submit the application.
I would also say about the GRE waiver, So we're looking at 3 years of full-time professional paid work experience. So that typically is not going to include internships. So it has to be work in a professional role. It doesn't really matter what the role is. We just want to see that you've been in the workforce for a while. So internships are not what we're looking for.
Okay, thank you.
At least for the waiver. Yeah.
Okay. So then talking about cost-wise, so the cost for the program is going to be $481 per credit hour. Each one of the courses that we've talked about today is going to be a 3 credit hour long course. So the cost per course is going to be $1,443. With the program being a total of 36 hours, then that is going to be $17,316. Now that is going to be for your tuition and fees. Other fees that aren't associated with that include a $50 non-refundable application fee. Also, upon graduation, you're going to have a $55 fee that is the processing fee, and the graduation fee is going to be a total of $55. Also, any of your book costs are not included in that number at all. And Dr. Bates, do any of your faculty use ProctorU for testing?
That might vary from course to course. I couldn't give you a specific answer on that. That would really depend on the instructor, and
right.
That sometimes changes from semester to semester.
Okay, and so if your faculty or if your professor does use ProctorU within your exam, there is a fee associated with each one of those tests through ProctorU as well. So those are the fees that are not included in that total 36-hour fee. However, I do want to talk to you guys about a very exciting option for our students who want to get started with us in second spring. So we are offering, as you can see here on this slide, we are offering a special tuition rate for any new students for our second spring term, meaning the classes that start on March 11th. And the reason why we are offering this for our new students is because we are setting up a structure to support and grow our online programs here with LSU Online. And in order to do that, we have to align our on-campus financial aid calendars with, our on-ground calendars. And so we're offering this tuition rate for second spring term only, and it's only for new students, and it's only for the first class. And we're doing that to ensure that we're removing any barriers that might be caused by this financial aid term change. So because we're doing this term change, we're not able to offer any financial aid at all. And so we're offering this $50 per credit hour. So for that very first class you take with us, you would only pay $150 for it, but you would have to pay it out of pocket. Now, if you were planning on taking the 2 courses like Dr. Bates spoke about as a full-time student, should you get accepted into the program, what we will do is we will work with you to carry forward the cost of that second course, and we will get you in touch with financial aid, and they can set up either a bill payment plan, or financial aid would be able to counsel you as to whether you would be eligible to use financial aid for the 2 summer terms to help cover the cost of all or part of your balance from previously before, for that second course if you wanted to go as a full-time student, okay? So the application deadline for this, if you want to get started with us on March 11th, is going to be February 11th, which is next Monday. So it's right around the corner, but we definitely still have plenty of time. And myself or Miss Sarah, who is with us today also as your enrollment concierge, if you guys have any questions, you can always give us a call, and I think our information is coming up a little bit later. You can always give us a call or shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to help you through that process to get everything in time. So, Allison, did you want to talk about some of the frequently asked questions?
Sure. I know. Right here.
Sure.
The most frequently asked questions is here about the program length and the structure. So the Certificate in Workforce Development is 18 credit hours, is $481 per hour total, which is $8,658. You can complete it in as little as 6 months. The application process is the same as the graduate app or the application. It's taught by distinguished nationally recognized faculty. Many of the same faculty that teaches our on-campus courses also teaches our online courses. And then it's 100% online and asynchronous. There are 6 start dates per year.
Yeah. So we're going to take this time to open it up to anybody who has any additional questions. Feel free to ask them in the question and answer box. We don't have a ton of people in the webinar chat right now, so if you can't get the question and answer box to open, feel free to just ask in that chat too. We'll be okay. So Dr. Bates, we do have one question that's been posed already, and it says, is there a way to submit a different resume if you've been admitted, but since need to update it?
Well, you can just send it directly to me.
Very good. And then from there, we can, depending on when you submitted the application and you were admitted, your application once submitted is actually good for a whole year's worth of time. And so with the admittance, that goes back to the department, and the department would at that time review again, probably need to get that updated resume and everything. So they would be able to talk more about that. But if we have students on here who say you submitted your application for second fall and weren't able to get all the parts into it, weren't able to get it completed, and it never was reviewed by the department yet, you can always reach out to us and we'll be more than happy to get that updated and get that moving to get those additional documents to continue forward. We have another question. It says, what is the length until we find out if we're accepted into the program? So once a completed application is in, how long does it take your department on your side, Dr. Bates, to get an answer back to the student?
Well, the application process is a little complex here. So applications go through the graduate school, I believe, first of all, and they go into some software that we have. And as soon as it gets into the software, I typically take a look at the applications. I review applications every week. And in fact, I'd review them every day if they came in. So it shouldn't take long once you get all the materials in for you to get an answer. I would say certainly if it could get into our software system, I review them within a week, 5 working days.
Great. The next question is, you mentioned book costs earlier. Are the books online as part of the library, or do we use hard copy books?
Well, I think that's going to depend from class to class. I know a number of our instructors actually download all the materials that students are going to be using in the course, so there isn't any textbook purchase required. I can't speak to all the courses. There may be some courses that use books that are available in the library. I think there are also some courses that require students to purchase books. It's really going to go on a course-by-course basis. And our faculty typically revise those courses annually. I mean, they're always being changed and updated. So I might tell you something about a course today that may not be true when you get around to taking the course. So I think you just have to explore that on a course-by-course basis.
Okay, thank you. The next question we have is, how closely is the graduate program aligned with SHRM certification standards?
Well, we have not taken the step to align our program with the SHRM requirements. And in fact, we distinguish our program from a human resource management program. Our view is that the field of human resources is divided into really 2 areas. One is human resource management, and the other is human resource development. We tend to focus on the human resource development side, which emphasizes organizational development, development of teams and groups, and training and development. So I think if a student is interested in SHRM certification, this may not be the program for them.
Thank you. The next question is, can we apply if we are not done with undergrad, or do we apply once we graduate?
Well, you can apply at any time, but I think we're going to require your undergraduate degree in order to be able to take graduate courses. So I would recommend you just wait until you get your undergraduate degree.
Okay. The next question is, how feasible is the one-year track for a full-time worker?
Well, I think that depends on how devoted you are to your studies. You know, the challenge of online learning is it's condensed and it's labor intensive. So I think if a student is committed to completing the program in a year, they can do so. By the same token, I've talked with a lot of students who have a full-time job, have a family, have small children, and there are often things that happen in the course of all that stuff that makes it difficult for students to complete in a year. So, you know, it is a challenge. Yeah, we've taken essentially, you know, university level courses that are typically taught in a 15-week semester and condensed them into a 7-week intensive program. So yes, it's things move quickly. You have to keep up with the work. You cannot put things off until the last minute in a 7-week program. So I would say from day one in an online program, you have to be right there keeping up with the work and doing what needs to be done.
Okay. So the next question is, what is the average weekly time requirement a student should budget for success per 3-hour course in the MS and LHRD program? And they stated that I'm planning 15 hours per week per 3 hours, per 3-hour course. And they're seeking like a guideline to follow.
Well, I would say between 9 and 15 additional hours of work for a 3-hour course. So if you're taking 2 courses, yeah, you're looking at probably somewhere between 20 and 30 hours of work on top of a 40-hour work week.
Okay. Did you want to do the next one, Courtney?
Sure. When is the deadline for the first summer session, and would it be possible for me to apply for financial aid during this time? And so I'll go ahead and answer those, and then I'll ask the second part of the question for Dr. Bates. So the reason, I'm sorry if it looked rude that I was on my phone, we actually just had an update to the academic calendar. So I saw this question coming, so I went in to double check. If you want to get started with us for our first summer module, the final date to apply to the graduate school is going to be on April 8th. And to answer your question about financial aid, yes, we will have, the only term that our students are not able to get financial aid is going to be for second spring, for that March 11th date. So if you're wanting to get started with us in May, then we will have financial aid available to those who qualify. You will just need to fill out your 1920 FAFSA. The next part of that question for Dr. Bates is, what are the qualities that you are looking for in a graduate student?
Well, our master's program is oriented toward what we call reflective practitioners, people who have a scholarly bent, but who want to be practitioners in the field of leadership and human resource development. So, you know, as a research-intensive university, we value what we call the research, practice, and theory triumvirate. So the courses we teach at the master's level are applied courses, but the skills and the application is all theory-based. So we expect our students to want and be interested in theory, to understand what theory is and the value of theory, and to understand how we can use theory in our practice and what it means to do so. So that's a little bit different way of thinking than you might be used to. So As I said earlier, our courses are challenging. They're taught by outstanding faculty members who are experts in their field. So, I think my expectation of a graduate student is they're going to be committed to their scholarly endeavors. They're going to take a scholarly approach to learning the material. They're going to be determined and consistently on time with the delivery of their work. And it's going to be high quality work. I think those are the expectations of all the faculty who teach in the program.
Very good. Then we have, hi everyone, Alan from Dallas is with us. Hi Alan, I've spoke to you a couple times on the phone. He said, one of his recommenders can't find the email. Can he send them directly to me? You can absolutely, if you need to, you can send them to me. I'll make sure that Melissa in the department, as well as Travis, who's our admissions officer in the graduate school, receive that. You can also send them directly to Melissa if you want to. And for anybody who's having that issue, do know that sometimes the email that comes from the graduate school, it does go to spam sometimes. So if your recommender doesn't receive it, always tell them to check their spam filter, or they can absolutely send it to any of us and we'll make sure that it gets attached to their application for sure. The next question then was, can you show the slide with the classes listed? That's why I went ahead and moved that for you, Miss Virginia, so you could see that. And then,
Okay. Sure. All right, next we have Andre's question. And it states that, do we have a chance of being accepted without all 3 recommendation letters being submitted?
Yes, you do. I mean, I do look at the letters of recommendation, but I understand that sometimes those can be difficult to obtain. So I look at all the materials that are provided. I would say your transcripts from any previous academic work are important. Your GRE scores and your resume would be probably the 3 most important pieces. The more letters of recommendation you can provide, the better.
all right. And then we had, my apologies if I missed if this was addressed, but are there classes for the certification transferable into the degree program at completion? So,
yeah, those courses are certainly transferable into the degree program.
okay. And then what college is this program aligned under? Is it the College of Education or College of Business? Something else? Oh, never mind. She found the answer. But
we're in the College of Human Sciences and Education.
Sure.
Okay. When should I apply if I'm looking to start in October and complete my last undergrad course in September?
So the way that it works out is that the application deadline is normally about 1 month before the start dates for that. So if your last undergraduate course is in September, if it ends in September, we have the potential to be okay. If it just starts in September, we might not be able to align with that just because we will need to get that degree conferral from your undergraduate. So we might have to look at potentially starting in January. But I'm going to make note of that, Tyler, and I'm going to reach out to you specifically and kind of share when those dates and everything are for you, just because I don't have that date right in front of me as to when that application deadline for October would be, since we recently had that change, and that's my apologies for that.
Alrighty, what is the acceptance rate?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not exactly sure. I would say the acceptance rate, is fairly high. I think we are clear about what our criteria are, and I think students who understand that they don't meet the criteria don't apply. So I would say, certainly more than 90% of the applications I look at are admitted into the program. I do get applications in which students' GPA is obviously much below what we would require, or students, often I see applications where students don't meet the GRE requirement and haven't taken the GRE, so that makes them inadmissible. But again, I think most students understand what the criteria are, and those who apply meet the criteria. So we have I would say, a very high acceptance rate.
Wonderful. Okay. The next one is there field work associated with any of the classes?
Is there a what?
Field work
Field work.
in the classes.
Well, as I said, our master's degree program is an applied program, and many, if not most, of the courses have an applied component, which requires students to actually do something outside of simply bookwork or coursework. So it could be an applied project. You may be working in small teams with other students to do something that requires field work, yes.
Okay. Do you want to do the next one?
Sure.
Okay.
Please describe the online learning design of the courses. Is it lectures, readings, papers, presentations? And how much of the coursework is individual contribution versus group projects?
Well, I would say we have great support from LSU Online in the design of our courses, and they use multiple methodologies for learning. So there's some brief lecture, there is teamwork, there is individual assignments, there's writing assignments, there's discussion boards. There are multiple modalities used to facilitate student learning. And I think that's what research shows is the best way for students to learn. What was the second half of the question, Courtney?
The second half is how much is individual versus group projects?
Well, I think that, again, that's going to vary from course to course. I can't answer that. You know, I think our instructors tend toward group projects simply because that's the way a lot of work is done today in organizations. People have to learn how to work in groups. And, you know, sometimes working in a group is a lot more challenging than working by yourself.
Agreed. So then we have the application deadline to begin in the fall semester one. So first fall. If I'm receiving my BS in August, should I apply for beginning in August? So the application deadline, and I'm so sorry, like I'm looking at my phone, I don't mean to be rude because I wanted to look this up for you so you had the correct information. Okay, so to apply for first fall, the application deadline is going to be on July 29th, and the start date for that will be on September 2nd. And so once again, it all comes down to when your actual degree conferral is and knowing when that, if we would be able to get that degree conferral in time for that application deadline. The next question then is, in order to be accepted for the second spring term beginning on March 11th, must all 3 letters of recommendation and all transcripts be received by that date? So the way that it is worded is that the application deadline is going to be on February 11th. Hold on, I'm going to make sure that I'm on that. Okay, second spring. February 11th is the application deadline, and then March 1 is the final date to apply for post-bac admissions and then to submit admissions documents for the second spring term. So you have to have your application in by February 11th, but you have to have all of your documents in by March 1. Okay. And then this one is a little kind of a different question for you, Dr. Bates. So what is the difference between an MBA in HR development and HR management?
An MBA?
Right, an MBA in HR development. Like if they were to get their MBA and then with like a concentration in HR, how does that differ from the Leadership and Human Resource Development program?
Well, as I said earlier, we typically view the field of human resources as divided into two primary areas. On the one hand is human resource development, on the other is human resource management. Now there is some overlap in those fields. So when we're talking about human resource management, we're talking about things like union and labor relations, employee assistance programs, compensation and benefits. When we're talking about human resource development, we're talking about team and group dynamics, organization development, training and development. And where those two fields overlap are in things like human resources planning, job design, performance management systems. So if you're asking about an MBA program that's in a business school, I would say you're going to get a lot more of the benefits and compensation, union and labor relationships, employee assistance programs, maybe some selection. If you're in a human resource development program like ours, you're going to get a lot more organization development, training and development, team and group dynamics, and leadership.
Okay.
Okay. Are the GRE waivers generally accepted and or for admissions?
I didn't catch that.
Are the GRE waivers generally accepted and or regarded favorably for admissions?
Yeah, you know, again, for the GRE waiver, I'm looking to see, does a person have at least 3 years of full-time work experience? And that is a fairly easy thing to see. And what I'm looking at is the resume that students provide to document that experience.
Okay.
Okay. And then we have, should the letters of recommendation be current? I have general letters of recommendation and was wondering if I could use those.
Well, I would say if they're fairly recent, that would probably be acceptable. You know, if they're 3 or 4 or 5 years old, you might want to think about getting a more updated letter.
Okay. Are the personal statement and GRE waiver 2 different essays? I have been in another field for 18 years.
Yeah, they are a little bit different in as far as the GRE waiver is more about how a person's professional career provides for them to be successful as a graduate student. I would say for someone who's been in a career for 18 years, it would be important to talk about how you think that career has prepared you for graduate work at a research-intensive university. Okay. So that's a little bit different than the personal statement, in which we're really interested in what your motivations are, how you think the degree is going to help you, and those kinds of things.
Right. Okay. And then we had, so sorry, could you repeat, if you hold a certification, can you apply that to your degree?
No, we don't take certifications as substitute for coursework in our program.
Unless you go through the graduate certificate program, but not certifications. What is the average number of applicants each semester?
Well, it's hard to calculate because we have ongoing admissions. In other words, we're seeing applications all year long. We typically have 120 students taking courses in a module. I suppose in the course of a year we see, I don't know, 50 or 60 applications.
What then is the average class size?
Well, for online learning, that's an interesting question because it really depends on the course and when students started. I know in some courses they can be relatively small numbers, as low as probably 10 or 12 students. But we've also had courses that have had upwards of 90 students in them. So I think it varies from course to course.
All right. And we have Shay on here who doesn't have a question. He just wanted to extend his sincere appreciation for the invitation to the informative webinar. And it's always great to put faces with a voice. And he's really looking forward to continuing the admissions process. And he says, go Tigers, which is
Go Tigers.
We're happy to have you, Shay. Also, our next question is then, and we have quite a few questions, but to be mindful of everybody's time, we'll get through as many as we can. So we have a question: how do Western Governor University students stack up in the application process? Meaning that somebody who has their undergraduate degree from Western Governors University.
Well, you know, again, it depends on your grade point average. We don't discriminate against online universities. So, you know, our requirement is that students have an undergraduate degree and they meet the GPA requirements. And beyond that, I tend to treat all those universities equally.
All right. And then Alan asked if we could put up the two programs, just the LHRD one and then the concentration in workforce development side by side. Unfortunately, Alan, we can't do it today on this webinar, but I just made myself a note and I will be more than happy to email those over to you so you can look at them side by side for sure to be able to see. We also had can you go over the admissions requirements again? So that's why I put it back on this slide where it talks about the 3.0 GPA. If you were logged in earlier when Dr. Bates talked about this, there is a little bit of wiggle room as well. If you do have below that 3.0 grade point average, some students can get admitted on a probationary status. And so that as long as you have between a 2.55 and a 3.0 per the graduate school requirements with that. Another question, are there any graduate assistantships or fellowships available for LSU Online students, or does that only apply to on-ground students?
It only applies to on-campus students.
Okay, and I think the last question, and this will be perfect, regarding Dr. Bates' point about the importance of program sequence / course availability, the curriculum worksheet online on display shows the semester availability for 30 of the 36-hour program. Are there some curriculum courses not available in a given year? Let's pull that back up.
Yeah, that slide only shows 10 courses. No, we run all 12 courses in a calendar year. I'm not sure what courses are missing on there.
Yeah, I think the ones that aren't listed, because those are the required courses, are there some electives that might have been on like a second sheet? No? We'll get it sent out to you, Mike, all of the courses that you will take, and we'll be happy to share that with you. But it looks like that is all of the questions that we had, and we were able to make it through within our allotted time with 2 minutes left. Yay, which is really exciting. So we want to thank everybody who was able to log in today to join us and ask any questions and learn more about the program. As a reminder, if you do want to get started with us on March 11th, that application deadline is February 11th. Anybody who asked questions that we talked about that we need to send further information, we'll be happy to share that by the end of today. We will also be sending out a recording of this as well for you guys to go watch it, but we greatly appreciate all of you again. Dr. Bates, thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy day to be able to help answer questions for interested students. We greatly appreciate that. And also
My pleasure.
for
Yes, thank
putting
you so
this
much.
together. We greatly appreciate everything, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their week ahead, and go Tigers!
Go Tigers.
Thanks.